In this section, we are going to talk about proof of value and demo on Cisco Umbrella. So we're starting with account request and licensing. Initial access and configuration is next. Policy management, virtual appliances and Active Directory, reports, and just a little bit about in the end about license conversion from POV to production. Account request and licensing. So you first start with requesting an umbrella account on your customer's behalf, going to signup.umbrella.com. Remember that Cisco Umbrella licensing is per user base, not per device, and that the trial account can be converted to a paid production account seamlessly upon purchase. Okay, so here is how the page looks when you go to sign up for the free trial. You go on and note down your name, last name, company email, phone, company name, select your country, and very important, if you go and select yes, so you're a reseller, you should go and select how many seats do you want. So for example, in this case, because it's for demo purpose, I only selected one seat. Initial access and configuration. So a welcome email will be sent to the address used to register the customer account. This will contain information for setting admin password and accessing the interface. After you log in, you can go on and set protecting your network, your roaming devices, and so on. You receive a confirmation, so you click on sign in to the dashboard, and that's it. You get access to the cloud platform. Next, we're going to set the policy management. First, creating the policy. Afterwards, selecting the policy settings. Third step would be to select block page settings, and the fourth one, select and set the policy details. Virtual appliances and Active Directory. So Cisco Umbrella virtual appliances, the VAs, are very lightweight virtual machines compatible with VMware, ESX, ESXi, and Windows Hyper-V hypervisors. The VAs record the internal IP address information of DNS requests for usage in reports, security enforcement, and category filtering policies in the Umbrella dashboard. The VAs are also required for Active Directory integration, which expands on the VA's functionality to include Active Directory identity information, in addition to the internal IP address visibility and DNS encryption. Here's a typical setup of how it will work. Okay, so you have the local PC or laptops or mobile devices that would normally send their DNS requests to the local DNS server. In this case, going for the virtual appliance, the DNS request goes here to the VA, and the VA will forward only for local queries the request to the DNS server. For the other ones, so not local queries, an encrypted tunnel is formed between the OpenDNS platform, the cloud umbrella from Cisco, and everything will go here. So not all the traffic will be tunneled to OpenDNS, only as we've seen so far, the interesting one. So the one that is not the OpenDNS or the umbrella is not sure of whether to hand off the IP or not. Okay, almost in the end, the reporting. We're going to move on to security overview, cloud services report, activity volume, top categories, and security activity. Last thing to note, after a successful partner executed POV, your customer will be able to convert their POV account to production account. After placing an order, they will receive an order provisioning email. Okay, so let's move on now to the hands-on section. So as mentioned earlier, you're in the signup.umbrella.com page. So you'd have to fill in all the details. First name, last name, company email, phone, company name. Select your country, and as said earlier, select yes, you're a reseller, and now you have to put in your number of seats. So for this reason, remember here to note down how many seats I have signed up for one when I did the subscription, and going down, of course, click on create my trial. So here. Good. After doing the sign up, in a couple of minutes you'll receive an email, and the email should look something similar to this. So, hello customer, thank you for your interest in Umbrella. Before setting up your free trial, we need to verify your email address. Verify your email address to start your free trial. Good. After verifying the email and the account is up and running, you may go to login.umbrella.com and you will just sign in. Okay, great. So we are in the MSP console now. So what do we have? What do we have here? So we have a centralized dashboard, centralized location for all our customers. So we have anyway 100 seats remaining. We can just register now our clients to start defining networks, roaming clients, virtual appliances, and so on. So first thing, where do we go from this point? Very important, we go to customer management. We click on customer management. We go on to plus, so we have to add a customer, add the name, let's say Ingram Micro Romania. How many seats? Let's say 5, and click save. And let's add another one. Customer 2, how many seats? As well, let's say 5. Okay, so now we have 2 clients. For editing each one of them, we have to click on the client name. And now we're in the console dedicated for this customer. So here on the left side, you have overview, identities, policies, reporting, settings for Ingram Micro Romania client. Good. So what do we do now? We're in the dashboard for a dedicated customer that we have defined earlier. We now have to go on protecting or selecting what we have to protect. So in this case, we go to identities and networks. So we have no networks defined. We need to define a network. We click on the plus sign. We give it a name. Let's say Ingram Micro Romania headquarter. And we have to fill in the IP address. I will just copy it to my clipboard and put it here. What can we select? So we can select from this menu how big the range is. I will just select the /32, so only one available IP address. Learn more. So what does this dynamic mean? we have a very well defined tutorial here. So navigate to identities network, select the identity that's on a dynamic IP and check dynamic. So in my case, I have a static IP address which will not change whatever happens in the ISP environment, so I will not check it. At this moment, I just have to click save. Network already exists because I have defined it in a previous demo, but you get the idea. Okay, let's go to the other console, the MSP console, and work on customer 2. Okay, for customer 2, identities, networks. We'll add a network and give it a name, client 2 HQ. And here we can put the IP address. I want to put the IP address that I have now allocated by the ISP. I don't know my IP address now, so I say my IP address and will give me my current IP address. As this is a /32, I will just not change anything here, and I will leave it to dynamic because it changes from time to time depending on ISP settings. What does the enable a daily stats email to mean? So basically, at the end of the day, an email will be sent to the IP address that we define here for representing all the stats, statistics, and what has happened during the day, how many requests were there malicious or not. I'll just enter my current email address here and just click save. Okay, although now it stands red now, so the status in about 1 hour and a half or 2 it will change to green. So don't worry about this. It's all okay. So what have we done at this point? We have defined in identities our network. Okay. We have we have to point our DNS to Cisco umbrella, and configuring DNS to direct traffic to umbrella is very simple. It really depends on your environment, your setup. So for example, in my case, on this PC, I have set up that I always go to umbrella. So going to preferences and advanced and DNS, you can see that I have entered the OpenDNS umbrella. DNS is here. So at this point, after you have redirected your DNS request to umbrella, you should be able to test whether you are connected or not to Cisco umbrella. How do you do this thing? You just go and type welcome .opendns.com, hit enter, and if this message appears, you're fine. You have redirected your DNS request to umbrella. Welcome to OpenDNS. Your internet is safer, faster, and smarter because you're using OpenDNS. Thank you. Okay, so I have deleted the IP address, the public IP address that I have already assigned to Ingram Micro site, Ingram Micro Romania. I have deleted from the other account. So now I should be able to define it here. I would like to have it in the same place so that we can see it together. So I'm entering the Ingram Micro client site. Now going to identities and networks. We don't have anything, so no results found. We'd like to add one. Give it a name. Ingram Micro Romania headquarter, and now copy and paste the IP address here. As said, it's not dynamic, so I will not click it. I will not select it here. I'm unselecting it and will click save. So everything is okay now. Let's see what it does. So creating a network with an IP address different than the one that you're currently connecting to this page from requires verification by Cisco Umbrella support. This will happen automatically within the next 24 hours, but if you require immediate assistance, please open a support ticket. Okay, no problem. It will solve by itself in the next 24 hours. Okay, so we're done with initial setup. We have also configured networks. What's next? Internal networks are the ones that we use inside our site, so our default site here. So the RFC 1918, not the public but the private IP address. Okay, I will say give it a name, Ingram Micro Romania private IP 172.27.2 and 0 /24 default site and save. Good. Default policy, it's in the green status. So we have just received an email. Let's see what it means. The Umbrella team, thank you for registering an IP with Cisco Umbrella. Before you can manage the settings for this IP, you will need to verify it along. It belongs to you. Click this link. Okay, I will click it. So it says that my current IP address does not match the one I'm trying to verify. If you can, please click the link from that IP address to verify. If not, please contact us. Okay, so it means that I'm on a different IP address that the one that I'm trying to add. So yeah, I will have to do this when I'm in the office. For clarity, it will solve immediately. So this is just a verification step that you're not trying to add. A verification step from OpenDNS. You're not trying to add IPs that you currently don't own. So we'll come back to this. So up to this point, we have defined in identities the networks, and we also want to add some roaming computers. So let's see how it's done. Clicking on the plus sign, we have to select either the Windows client or the macOS client. As I'm on a macOS now system, I will just click on download, and the software downloads immediately, and I will just install it now. Continue, I agree, install, of course. The installation was successful. Okay, now we're waiting for the roaming client to contact the cloud. It looks protected, encrypted. Let's run a refresh now, and now we see the roaming laptop, the roaming computer in here. So in our roaming computers identities section. So let's see, if you go to overview, no identities, back to MSP console. In the MSP console, we see that for Ingram Micro Romania client, we now have one network and one roaming client. Okay, so we are done with identities. We can now move to policy management. Policies is all the menu is on the left side. Is here policies, policy list. So policies control the level of protection and logging, including which types of sites should be filtered. The policy wizard is the best way to start applying policies to the identities created. And I'm going to try to break down each component of policies into a step-by-step process. There are four key steps to getting started building and understanding your policies. And these steps apply when creating your first policy or when going back to edit an existing policy. By default, as you can see on the screen, um, we have a default policy, and there's always only one, I mean, as a default. This policy applies to all identities when no other policy above it covers that identity. So in other words, the umbrella default policy is a catch-all to ensure all identities within your organization receive a baseline level of protection. Let's add another policy now. So we have to select the identities. The first step in editing a policy is to select the identities to which the policy will be applied. This will determine which users these settings will apply to. This can be any combination of identities available in your account. Categories can be expanded to more selectively choose identities to apply to a policy. So, for example, if you have only a single identity, the network, select only that one. In our case, it's easy to see that we have defined a network and a roaming computer. You have seen me defining those, so we'll just continue with those two. Okay, so clicking networks and roaming computers and next. We are in step 2, select policy settings. Let's see what options we have here. So category settings, these settings filter types of content based on your organization's acceptable use policies. The second one, security setting to enforce. These settings set the types of security settings you'd like to have in place to protect yourself on the internet. And the destination list, the third one, if you have particular domains you'd like to allow or block, add them to a destination list. There are two by default, you can see them on the screen, the global block list and the global allow list. And you can create more or to organize groups of domains. We will go through each one of these categories now. So first one, category settings. These settings allow you to select the content categories to be blocked for the identity selected in step 1. And by default, no content categories are blocked, so adjusting according and give your setting an appropriate name. So how do we do this? We go to add new setting. For example, you can see that at the moment we have selected none. So by default, if you go to high, we have a predefined template selecting adware, adult, alcohol, chat, dating, gambling, and so on. So if this policy is okay for you, you can leave it as it is. If not, you can just add more to it. You can see that now it has moved to custom. We'll leave it in high as the option, and we can just click add. Provide a name. So this is category setting Inbound Micro, and click add. Okay, so we have finished with category setting. So to create a new set of content filtering rules, as said, click Add New Settings. You can start with high, moderate, or low category and customize it for your customers' use cases. If you go with the, just forgot, if you go with the whitelist only mode, if checked, only domains explicitly allowed on a destination list will be allowed. So since many websites require many content domains, this option may take time to build a destination list. Going to the next one, the security settings. These settings allow the configuration of which security type threats are blocked. Malware and drive-by downloads, as well as mobile threats, cannot be disabled. So let's go to have a more visual on this one. So as said, malware and drive-by downloads cannot be disabled, as well as mobile threats. Newly seen domains that have become active very recently. These are often used in new attacks. You can choose to allow or block. I prefer to block them. Potentially harmful, so domains that exhibit suspicious behavior and may be part of an attack. The same, you can just allow or block. Suspicious response, dynamic DNS, DNS tunneling. Botnet and phishing is blocked anyway. You cannot change this. Highly risk sites and locations, so domains and host names that are matching against your predictive security algorithms from Cisco Umbrella Threat Intelligence. You can choose either to block or allow. I would say that by default is block, and it's a very good option. Moving to enable intelligent proxy. So for domains with malicious and safe content, enhance security by proxying web connections and blocking URL requests. I see no reason why we should not activate this option. And SSL decryption, it's for decrypting your traffic for inspection. We have to download and install a certificate if we want to activate this option. Last one, enable IP layer enforcement. So for connections that bypass DNS lookups, enhance security by tunneling suspect IP connections and blocking by IP or URL. So yes, I will just add this one too and click on add. Forgot to say how I want this to be called. So let's say security setting again in Run Micro and add. Okay, finish with these two. Now moving on to destination lists. So destination lists allow the customization of filtering by creating a list of domains that are explicitly blocked or allowed. Please note that each destination list can be set to be a block list by default or an allow list. And it is recommended adding domains in the format of domain.com rather than www.domain.com, just to ensure that subdomains like mail.domain.com is included. So a wildcard is implicit. Creating a destination list is a two-step process. First, pick the type of list you want, then add in the domains you would like to have allowed or blocked. So let's add a new destination list. We can call it destination list micro, add a domain, and click add. Okay, so we have added the domain list, category setting, security setting, destination list. We can click next. Okay, so blog page settings. Blog page settings outlines how to configure a unique blog page for your users, as well as how to bypass that blog page if needed. And each of these settings are broken down. Blog page settings, these settings let you customize the blog page appearance, redirect to a custom domain, and more. Bypass users who can log into log in to bypass block pages on this policy. Bypass users must be checked on a policy in order for it to be active. And the last one, bypass codes who can log in to bypass block pages on this policy. Bypass code must be checked on a policy in order for it to be active. Let's take it one by one. So block page settings. These settings allow for customization of the block page. Choose a generic message across all block pages or customize the message per type of block page. The block can also redirect, as said, to a custom URL. If not redirecting to a custom URL, a contact form can be added to allow blocked users to contact the administrator at the email provided. And finally, a custom logo can be uploaded to be displayed on the block page in place of the Cisco umbrella logo. So if we just want to create a new one, block page appearance name, so block page Ingram Micro, treat all blocked requests the same, show a block page with the default block page message, allow blocked users to contact an admin from the block page, and show a custom logo. And this is where you can just add one. So I'll just leave it as it is and click add. Sorry, an email address. I will just put my email address here and click add. The second one, bypass users. So bypass users. A bypass user can log in to bypass the selected type of block pages. Note that the user must already exist on the dashboard to be added as a bypass user. So we can do this from, let me show you. So now we have no users here. I want to select one, but we have none. We can do this by going to settings, accounts. We can define let's say this one is read-only. Email address is, it doesn't matter. Password Cisco and Cisco. Create. Password has to be Cisco 123 exclamation mark, Cisco 123 exclamation mark, create. At least one upper. Okay. Cisco with capital. Now hopefully it's done. Okay, so going back to policies, policy list. I believe we have lost the policy now, but it doesn't matter. We can create it again. So select networks and roaming. Click next. So it's all saved. We just add it now. Domain list by macro. This is the one we created. Next. Block page, run micro, and add user. So now that we have created a user, I assume that we'll have the option to, yes, to select it here. So this one can bypass everything. For example, add a description, let's say bypass user in run micro policy, and click add. Okay, the last one, the bypass codes. So the bypass codes can be created to allow blocked users to bypass the blocked page. When enabled on the policy, the selected categories and/or domains can be bypassed, and ensure that to set an expiration for the code, or the default will expire within an hour. So description for the bypass code. No description. Can bypass selected categories and destination. I will leave it to anything. Select the date. I'll just give it almost 1 year. Generate code. So we have a code generated here, and with this one, the block page can be bypassed with this. Okay, we have reached the end of this section. Click next. Policy description. So finally, the name of the policy may be edited and logging settings chosen. Logging enabled is recommended to start out to ensure that the desired settings are active. Logging settings are logging enabled for full logging, content logging disabled for security logging only, and logging disabled if you want to disable logging. Policy settings are only saved after we're going to click on save. So we're gonna leave logging enabled. So for full logging, we'll say policy Ingram Micro and click save. Okay, so we're done with the policies now. We can see that in the list we have the default policy, and on the first position our custom-made policy. So this is the one that will take precedence, and traffic will be treated accordingly. Okay, so we're done with the policy now. Let's move on to virtual appliances and Active Directory installation. So we go to Settings, Virtual Appliance, Sites and Active Directory, Download Components. So as I have an ESXi environment, I will download the VA for VMware ESXi 4.1 Update 2. So I will just pause the video now and come back when it's done. Okay, so the download finished, and now I have logged into VMware vSphere web client, and I'm going to deploy the virtual appliance, OpenDNS virtual appliance as it's called. So click on hosts, all these interactions, and somewhere around here, okay, deploy OVF template. Okay, so browse for the file, OpenDNS, next, next, just put a shorter name, so OpenDNS virtual appliance looks fine, and select where to install it, next. No need for thick provisioning, I'll just use thin provisioning, and next. Select a network, production looks good, next. Ready to complete, power on after deployment, we'll power it on manually, so finish. Okay, so we see now that deployment is done, so we can see it here. it's all checked. So yeah, so here, okay, good. Up to this point, we can go and fire up the virtual appliance, and we'll do it from the Windows client, because otherwise I cannot see the console. So power on. At this point on, I can go and see Open Console. Open DNS VA. Let's give it an IP address. It's a /24 172.27.2.1 72.27.2.20. So it's my local DNS server. Save. Okay, Open DNS Cloud SSL OK. AD connector unknown. So after saving the configuration, it's normal for the test to fail for the first 60 seconds or so, but after that you should see sync message indicating that the VA and the umbrella service are communicating. It's normal to see the AD connector unknown message, as the optional Active Directory integration has not yet been configured. Okay, so it took around 2 minutes for the VA to sync, to go in sync. And now if we go to the console, we see it in the services that the forwarder is green, the sync is okay. We still have the AD connector on unknown status, but that's fine. It will turn green once we do the integration with the Active Directory. So let's go back to the dashboard, and now we see that the OpenDNS VA, the name that we have given the virtual appliance, says that is in a state error. So we click View Details, and the message is that this VA is not redundant with its site, 2+ VA required per site. And we also are given a link to read more about it. Error, this VA is not redundant within its site. Resolution, install a second VA at this time for the reasons listed here. Anyway, we will go and deploy another VA just for redundancy. It seems that it has timed out. Let's see if we have to authenticate. Yes. So I will go in and authenticate again to continue deploying a second VA. Okay, so let's go and install the second VA. So vCenter actions and deploy OVF template. Waiting. Okay, browse for the file. Open DNS. Next. Next. I will call it OpenDNS virtual appliance, let's say backup. Select the site and click next. No need for thick, so I'll go for thin provision. Next. Selecting the network. Next. So let's click finish. We'll power it on manually. So initializing OVF template, OVF deployment. So okay. So here. Okay. So I'll just come back with you guys when the deployment is done. Okay, so we see now we have the deployment done. So let's highlight the important zones. So here we have the deployment, the message that states that deployment is done. And now we have two virtual appliances. The first one that we have also configured and the one that we have named it as backup, and it's not powered on. So let's go on and power on the virtual appliance and configure it. So first we have to power it on. So power on, and we'll move to the console. So this is the second one, backup virtual appliance, and we'll go into backup. So here's the console. I'll just make it bigger. We have the status down here. So yes, it's powered on now. Okay, so we have to give it a name. So let's call it Open DNS VA Backup. IP. Netmask. Gateway. Local DNS. So this is the local DNS server that we have on our internal network, and save. The same will now wait for the sync to go on green. At the moment it says sync is starting, forwarder restarting, so we'll have to give it another couple of minutes, 2 or 3, to get into the sync status. Okay, so now we see that we have the forwarder and sync turning to green, so we're okay. Let's move on to the dashboard now and see if something changed. Okay, so we are on the dashboard. We can see both OpenDNS VA, primary and backup, but we have an orange attention sign here. So let's see what's all about. So DNS queries forwarded by this VA to Umbrella are not encrypted. For more information and steps to resolve this, please visit the page. So we have quite good information. So the Cisco ASA firewall blocks DNS script, and we have all the steps presented what's happening and the solution. So if you have a Cisco ASA, you can just follow the steps here to exclude DNS from inspection. I have connected to my ASA and prepared the configuration. We'll first configure the access list. Next, move on to global policy map, and exclude DNS from inspection. Then define the class map, DNS inspect CMAP, and call for the above access list. So class map match access list DNS inspect, and then apply the inspection, the DNS inspection on this access list that denies communication from the ASA, in my case, to the OpenDNS servers. So policy map, class DNS inspect CMAP, and inspect DNS. Don't forget to write your configuration. Now let's get back to the dashboard, do a refresh, and wait to see if something changes. Okay, so actually the access list applied were wrong. So I have now modified to the following. So here I have entered previously the IP address of the ASA, but no, it's not correct. In the guidance provided by OpenDNS umbrella, it states real clear appliance IP. So access list, DNS inspect extended, so type extended, deny UDP host, so the IP address of the virtual appliance, going to, so this is the source, going to the IP address of one of the IP address of the DNS servers, equal domain, so port 53. And I have done this for both the VAs. You can see that, probably notice that I have changed the IP address from what I have defined when deploying. I had some duplicate IP addresses, so that's the only reason. Okay, so define the IP addresses in the access list. Now I'm going to apply them. So this is the IP address, the specific IP address defined in the access list. And now the generic ones. Going to global policy map, global policy map. Then the class, just to make sure, class inspection default, no inspect DNS. Good. Now configuring and defining our class map, match the access list, the new access list, then going to policy map, class DNS inspect CMAP, and inspect DNS. Good. Don't forget to write configuration, so it will be persistent in case of a reset, power off failure or something. And we are starting to get hits now, so this is what is very important. So in the previous slide, nothing, the previous try, nothing was happening, and this is because we were not matching on the correct source IPs going to the destination. Now we're good, and we see that we have hit count. So this is hit CNT hit count, and going specifically to the DNS servers. Okay, let's have it again. Perfect. So it's very easy to see now. This is the reason why we're not getting the hits, not having the correct source IP address going to the DNS server destination. Okay, so at this point we should see both of them, yes, turn into green. So we are good. Just refresh the page just to be sure. And yes, now we have both of them with green, no other I don't know, messages from Umbrella. They're in the healthy state. We have two, no other errors. So very good and on track. Okay, so next step will be to configure the integration between the virtual appliances and Active Directory. So for this reason, I have logged into the AD, and here in the downloads components section, we have two two things to download and configure. The first one would be the configuration script for the domain controller to allow the VA and connector servers to communicate, and the second one is actually the connector that we must install. So I have downloaded the script. Let's open it and see what it is. Open. The publisher could not be verified, and we have to use this command to run it. Okay, so maybe we should go to command prompt, so we should give it a try from here. Let's see, downloads. We should go and see if it will work this way. So script, C script, open DNS. Right click, command prompt, and run as administrator. Okay, so cmd, run as administrator. Yes, we'll give it a second try now. So cd downloads. No. Users, cd downloads, and now we should do this again. So C script and open DNS. So let's see. Open DNS testing configuration, could not find open DNS connector. That's fine, we haven't installed it yet. Remote admin enabled. Event log, could not find open DNS connector. Okay, please create one or use the force domain. Good. So we will go and download the connector. Open. Run the setup. Run. Next. Next. Password. Please supply your credentials to access Active Directory for monitoring. The password will be verified with the domain controller when you click next. Okay, so we have to define a username and password for the connector. We will try and do it on the fly. So not this one. Active Directory, users and computers. Okay. New user. So let's see. Open DNS underscore connector. Open DNS connector. Open DNS underscore, yes, connector. Next, password, and password again. Password never expires. And next, finish. Good. So let's put the password here and hit next. Open DNS connector, credentials validated successfully. Next, and install. Finish. Now let's go on and try running the script again. So do you want to use auto configure this domain controller? Do you want us to? Yes. Registering domain controller in the cloud, register success, updating DC status in the cloud, update success. Okay, so we're done with the AD configuration. We have now in the sites and Active Directory also two more entries. You can see the type is AD server and the second one is AD connector. It's installed a few seconds ago. I'll hit the refresh. And it will turn in green. Connector is not assigned to a site. Assign it to a site or create a new site. So this is our site. I'll click save. The AD server, the same thing. I'll assign it to my site, and we'll be waiting for it to go into green. Okay, so I had to wait for a couple of minutes. Now we see that we have all in the healthy state. So the two VAs, the AD connector, and the AD server. Good. So if everything is successful, so from this dashboard we see that it is, but from a technical point of view, if everything is okay, now we should see in the identity section our users from the AD. So let's check it. Identities, in the policies, in the policy list, I mean. So I have one defined here, and now select identities. You can see that we have AD computers, groups, and users. So I will include in my category now the AD users. So after this happens and applies, I will have the possibility to see exactly who's making the request down to the username level. So not only the IP address. So this is the great benefit that the AD integration will bring to us. So I'll just click save. Impacting 45 identities. Good. So going down onto reporting. Let's see, activity volume. No. Top identities. So up to this point, I have only my roaming computer and the HQ, the site. So I will now wait to have something in this section in the top identities, and I will have to um, take some decisions afterwards if I don't like anything or if it's violating the company policy. So they should appear here. Just give it one more try. Okay, so I'll pause the video now and come back to you when we have some results. Okay, so integration is done and is functioning now. But before I show you the results, which are great, so everything is right on track, is working. I'd like to make a quick review on the whole solution. So we've started from the VAs. So we have installed two VAs, virtual appliances. The first one, it's the first one. It's 101 as IP address, and it's pointing to the local DNS server, which is .20. The second one as well. It's also functional. We have seen it in the healthy state. .103 pointing to the same, or not pointing, but mentioning who's the local DNS. Pointing is not correct because actually the VAs, as we said earlier in the slides, as mentioned, the VAs are connected directly to the umbrella cloud. So we have the VAs. Next, also we have the DNS server, so the Active Directory. So here I have went into the forwarders section and I have entered the two IP addresses of the umbrella cloud, so 222.222 and 220.220. And also very important, you can do it in the first place just as testing. You can go on a PC and point the two DNS servers, or at least one, but why not point to both of the VAs? Point here, so or note down the IP address of the VA. So in this way, after proper integrating and following all the steps, we can go into settings, no, reporting and activity search. So and we can have a clear view of what's happening in our network. We can drill down to a more exact search. So I can select now me as my identity and go on run report. So at this point, I don't have Ingram Micro as a site, so I don't have anything generic. I can see exactly what request did what users, so I can have I have here in the identity column the username and also the internal IP. So what the internal IP of this host doing this request. So this one was for Outlook. So as you see, now we have a complete solution. We don't have only the DNS service, so serviced by Umbrella. We have customized it and implemented it fully as recommended in the POV guide from Cisco. We have installed two virtual appliances. We have them in a high availability configuration. Next, we have moved on to the Active Directory. We have changed the DNS servers there that the Active Directory and DNS server relies on. So the DNS server will now go to Umbrella for any request. And in the end, we have went on the PC just as an example and set down all the configuration to static, the IP address, but this is not important. More important, the two DNS servers pointing to the VAs. And here we go. This is what we have expected for. Okay, so last section before we wrap up this session, it's reporting. So for reports, you obviously go on the left side menu, going to reporting, and we have quite a few reports that we can run. So for example, we're going to security activity. What can we do here? So we can schedule the report. Okay, filter by identity. We can do this or not. Filter by destination, source IP, and category. We can share it. We can share it with another administrator in the organization, and we can export. So filter, recipient, schedule, description. Another one, cloud services. Cloud services report. Um, Basically, it's almost all the same, depending. I mean, as a procedure for exporting, we have different information in different report, but it's all the same. It really depends on what do we actually need to demo to our client. So it really depends on its business and its business needs. The same schedule, share, download, so export as an SCV, and just a new cloud service. Thank you for your time on Ingram Micro Cisco Umbrella session, and I do hope you'll join us in the upcoming courses as well. Thank you.